Yeah, that's right. Ladies and gentlemen, may I propose a toast to the Commander-in-Chief?
President, ladies and gentlemen, toast, United States Army.
Here. The Navy.
To the United States Air Force.
To the Air Force.
To the United States Army Special Operations.
Yes, sir. Here are allies. To the POW. Here, here. Gentlemen, please seat your ladies.
The lady.
That was just to seat the ladies, gentlemen. At ease. At ease. Gentlemen, please.
Mr. President, may I propose a toast to our warrior ladies.
To the warrior ladies. Take your seats, please. Thank you. At this time, I would like to introduce a few guests that we are honored to have with us tonight. I will introduce our guest speaker later, so I will continue on now. First and foremost, I'd like to introduce SOA member Colonel Lou Millette, a recipient of the Medal of Honor for the Korean conflict. Lou is accompanied by his son, Lee. And Lou, would you come forward, please?
Right behind you.
Okay, thanks. Cabo man?
You know, not only is it an honor to be here, but it's a tremendous honor to be a United States citizen. When my forefathers came over in 1635 in Massachusetts Bay Colony and fought to liberate this country so we could be free, I thank the God that gave them the courage to do such things. And you know, as a free man, I deeply believe that all free men should stand up and fight for freedom of those under tyranny. And that's why I volunteered to fight the 3 wars. But you know, it's unbelievable to me to find that my youngest son, 27 years old, is killed on a peacekeeping mission. So I wrote this old soldier's prayer. I have fought when many feared to serve. I have gone where others failed to go. I have lost friends in war and strife who valued duty more than love of life. I've shared the comradeship of pain. I've searched the lands for men that we have lost. I have sons who serve this land of liberty, who fight to see other stricken lands are free. I've seen the weak forsake humanity. I've heard the traitors praise our enemy. I've seen challenged men become ever bolder. I've seen the duty, the honor, the sacrifice of the soldier. Now, I understand the meaning of our lives. The loss of comrades not so very long ago. So to you who've answered duty's siren call, may God bless you, my son. May God bless you all.
We would now like to acknowledge, please take your seats. We would like to acknowledge Jane Sisler, representing her late husband, Ken Sisler. Ken was SOG's first Medal of Honor recipient posthumously. Jane is accompanied tonight by her granddaughter, Chantel. Chantel, stand up, please. Too many papers. We have some special guests with us tonight also, and I'd like to acknowledge them. Mrs. Toshi Meehan, widow of SOA member Mick Meehan. Mrs. Evelyn Gray, widow of SOA member Wiley Gray. And at this time, I would like to publicly thank Evelyn for a very generous donation to the SOA Scholarship Fund in the memory of her husband, Wiley. Thank you very much, Evelyn, for your gracious donation. Mrs. Mary Ann Harrison, widow of SOA member Marshall Harrison. Mrs. Barbara Burcham, widow of SOG member Jim Beercham. Mrs. Rosie Childs, widow of Art Childs. And Karen Denke, sister of Dale Denke, a KIA of SOG. We're especially pleased that you could be with us tonight and could attend SOAR 26 and to honor your loved ones and that served us in Special Operations community and so ably, and to socialize with their comrades in arms that served with them. Thank you, ladies. Another interesting note is Toshi Meehan has probably attended more SOA and SFA reunions and conventions than most of the guys that are here or in SF or Special Operations. We're always glad to see you, Toshi. All right. I'd like to voice my regret that Wayne Lawley could not be here tonight. He is ill, but he does have guests here, and I don't know where you're sitting now, but we welcome you and thank you for being here with us. I missed someone, Jean Beercham, the sister of anyway, excuse me, I lost my place here. You're making me go back and start over here. At any rate, I also would like to acknowledge some other folks that are here with us. And I'd like to ask you to come up to the front here so I could speak with you, and I have something that I'd like to give you. Lieutenant Colonel Frank Hudson, 5th Special Forces Group, Deputy Commanding Officer. Master Sergeant Richard Ferguson, 10th Special Forces Group, Special Projects, a team sergeant. Sergeant First Class Kevin O'Connor, 10th Special Forces Group, also a Special Projects. These are what we hope to be the beginning of many of today's Special Warriors. And we hope that they will go back and tell their fellow warriors that we'd love to have them, that we want them to be a part of our organization. We think we're a cut above most other fraternal veterans organizations, and these gentlemen certainly add to that. So what we decided to do was to give each of them a memento of their visit here and say thank you. Sir? Yeah, thank you. Fergie? Oh, you need that. Then that. Okay. Kevin, thanks for your information and help. And hey, we really appreciate you guys being here. Also, we're giving them a little glove so they keep these polished, and I know it'll come in handy for them. It's a polished glove. Okay? Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. Who? Jackie Llewellyn. Who? Widow. Okay. I would also like to recognize Jackie Llewellyn, the widow of SOA member Bob Llewellyn. And I'm sorry I missed you, Jackie. And I'd like to mention two special guests this evening, or not one special guest, Paul Hotel. He's a member or represents the Plaza Hotel, and every year comes to our banquet and asks us to please leave as much money as we can at the dice tables and the crab and the blackjack tables. Paul, are you here? Not here. Well, I'm sorry, he didn't make it. But anyway, whether he's here or not, he would still like to have your money. I'd also like to recognize two friends of mine who I served with in 1966 in FOB2 Khartoum. They were our sergeants at arms this year, and that's Billy J. Anthony and Lewis Smith, Jr. Thanks, guys. And finally, I'd like to recognize the SOA Board of Directors and special staff that have worked so diligently in preparing for this reunion. And let me tell you, it was a lot of work. I'd like to introduce Vice President and Chairman of the newly elected Vice President, Cliff Newman. Treasurer Rick Grabinowski. Secretary Bulldog Smith. Director Charles Berg. Director Robert Jack. Director Gene McCarthy. And Director Rip Van Winkle, who has replaced Cliff on the board. Director Earl Tribune, who has done yeoman's work this year. And our Executive Director, Jake Jacobson. The Chairman of our Scholarship Committee, who has worked very hard in redeveloping or reorganizing our scholarship, Ellen Keller. Chairman of our newly formed Budget Committee, again, Charles Berg. Chairman of the SOA POWMIA Committee at this point, Norm Doney. Chairman for the Special Operations Association Memorial Fund at MacDill, Air Force Base, John McClaskey, and his lovely wife, Carolyn. And the money man, chairman of the fundraising committee, Clyde Sincere. And I know Patrick Hefner thinks I skipped over him or I missed him, and he probably feels very badly now, inasmuch as he's worked harder than anybody else here. He's the man that's responsible for everything that failed to happen and happened here, except what happened at being starting late. That was my fault. But Patrick has done a great job. He's started last year in the middle of chaos, and this year he's done really, really well. And it'll be better next year, too. And Patrick, thank you very much. I'd like to ask the following personnel to come forward at this time and receive their 25-year pins. Herb Swiesda, Bo Greitz, Leonard Malika, Robert Master Joseph, Sammy Hernandez, Robert Marple, J.D. Bath, David Maurer. Okay, want to be down here? Let's go down here. Come on, guys. Sammy. Oh,
Better start with him.
should I start with the oldest? J.D. Sammy? Herb? Thank you. I need some more. Bob?
Thank you.
You betcha.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I can only say thank you very much for your support, and I hope that you'll be around to get your 30-year pin.
Jimmy gets one tonight, too.
Yeah, I
for
get one, too.
25 years.
I got one. I get two. I can only say is be careful when you put these on because the pins will break off. POW. General Mugelberg? Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hedrick has been so gracious and thanking everyone else on the board and everything else. I think the president of our association deserves a big hand.
Thank you. Thank you, John. It's like I told you the other day, if they'd have told me this was going to be for 3 years instead of 2, I wouldn't have run. Yeah, so. You know, there's a couple of people that I want to acknowledge, and there's one that I forgot, and I'm not real astute when it comes to protocol and being a master of ceremonies, but General Muckelberg, I'm sorry I missed you, but he was the commander of UNPIC in Korea. In 1953, I believe. Right over there. I'm sorry, sir. And there are a couple other gentlemen that I want to recognize, POWs. And one of, or both, I don't know Mike Benj, but I'd like to introduce, Mike was a civilian internee or detainee or POW, whatever you call it. He spent a long time incarcerated. Welcome and thanks for attending with us. And one of our life members, Dennis Thompson. Dennis Thompson and myself and Charles Berg made a trip back to Vietnam 2 years ago. And of course, it was my first trip to Hanoi. It wasn't Dennis's. But we did a real trick out in the hinterland trying to find a camp that Dennis had been held in, one of his favorite places. We looked hard. It took us all day, and Charles Berg and I got us lost. And when we finally got there, we had to walk the last kilometer and a half, And I have to admit, the people in the area around Hanoi are very hospitable, and they were very helpful. There was 2 old ladies that about older than me, and so they're old. And they said, "Oh yeah, we remember that camp, but there's no prisoners there now. They haven't been any prisoners there since 1972." And so we said, okay. They gave us a guide. And so we headed off over there. We finally found it. We walked the last 1.5 kilometers. We got there. We started in the camp. Dennis got tunnel vision. I think it's over there, and away he went. And I looked up, and they were having a volleyball game. And the Vietnamese that came to guide us, he got real excited. No, 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 stop, stop, stop. He was trying to get our attention. So we got Dennis stopped, and the North Vietnamese major came out and told us, get out of his camp, don't take any pictures, and don't come back. After all that effort, when we got back, and Dennis couldn't remember clearly what it was all about, it wasn't D1, the camp we were looking for. It was the Brambles, the gentleman in the embassy who gave us the maps and information, sent us to the wrong camp. So now we'll go back again, Dennis, and do it right this time. Welcome, Dennis. Dennis is one of our newest life members. For planning purposes, at SOAR 27, all personnel who attended SOAR 1, 2, and 3, whose numbers fall between 01 and 99, will be eligible to receive their 25-year pin. Somehow, Clyde, I don't think that's quite right. Is it? Anyway. You know, I have to admit, as bad as this is going up here, it's Clyde's fault because he wrote this. So, at any rate, and I thought you were helping me out, Clyde. So I think it's now time to eat, and I'll ask Jake to come up and kind of tell you how we're going to go about this. But Kathy, you wanted to come up and say something.
Okay, to facilitate a rapid feeding as rapid as possible, we're going to work it like the airline boarding. But before I start, I want to introduce a lady that's really first class. She runs this operation. Kathy Kuster, Banquet Manager.
Thank you very much. He gave me a promotion. I'm a banquet server. I'm the captain. But on behalf of the hotel, I'd like to thank everybody. I hope you had a good time. On behalf of myself, the banquet manager, RJ, and all the staff, I'm sorry for any inconveniences or problems, and I hope everybody got to sit where they wanted to. But I'd like to thank everybody and hope you had a good time and hope to see you next year. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have a total of 8 buffet serving lines, 4 to your left and 4 to your right. We're going to start off with the dignitaries here, so I'll ask tables 1 through 8 to go to the appropriate side of the banquet hall and hit the chow line, and also table number 72 from the rear. That's our color guard. Please.
So he's going to talk to us tonight. They gave me this big bio here to present, and then Clyde scratched out a bunch of lines on it. It makes it hard to read. And when he was asked how he would like to be introduced, he said, told Jake, he said, I was drafted into the Army. I was forced into the Army with a draft. And he said, I was forced out of the Army by politics. And what he means was by Bill Clinton. And I don't know, sir, if you mind me saying that, but I told you that he doesn't have any friends here, but you have friends here. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you Major General William Wild Bill Garrison. Take all the time you want, sir. Oh, let's turn that on, and we're going to do it. I'll turn mine off.
I don't believe that Colonel Millett is sitting here, but that's the very first person I would like to honor. It is quite daunting and absolutely humbling to stand up in front of all of the people that you know here that are legends. People like Sergeant Major Dennis Thompson, and I could go on and on and on. So all I will say is I am honored to be here. I have no idea how all of you men got such lovely women with you. There's one thing that I would like to make absolutely clear, and I hope everyone can hear this, and that is that it cost you nothing for me to come out here. I paid all of my expenses, and the reason I want you to know that is so that later, after this is over with, when someone says, boy, that guy's speech really sucked, I want someone to immediately say, well, at least it didn't cost us anything. As I was coming down to the hotel, I saw a man running, and he was shouting. He said, quick, quick, there is a really bad group of bad men coming. We need to get all of the women and children inside. I heard another individual say, no, you don't understand. That's the men of the Special Operations Association. And this first guy stopped and he thought, and he said, you know, you're right. We need to get all the goats and the sheep in too. Now, a long time ago, there was a king before a great battle. He was giving a speech to his troops, and it went a little bit like this. He said, if there is anyone among us that does not want to participate in this fight, let him depart. Give him money to speed his departure, because I would not want to die in that man's company. He also said that those men that choose to stay will be my brother. For anyone who sheds his blood with me will always be my brother. He went on to say that everyone that lives through this fight will gather once a year. They will show everybody their scars and tell embellished stories of their great feats of battle. And he said, forever after this fight, we will be known as we few we happy few, we band of brothers. And I think most importantly, he also said to his troops, and for those men who are afraid to come to this fight, they will always think of themselves as lesser men when they hear of how we fought and died together. To me, this is really the essence of the Special Operations Association. You're a group of men who are not afraid of the fight. You're a group of men who shed your blood with each other, for each other, and also for our great country. Furthermore, you're also a group of men that would be happy if called upon to do it again. Now I asked Jake what I should say tonight, and he very quickly said, "Hey, it really doesn't matter what you say, just say it in a hurry." And he also said, well, you might say a few things about Somalia. Now, Somalia, like Vietnam, is a very controversial battle that our country fought in. Much shorter, but still very controversial. For instance, in my case, Colonel David Hackworth said the following. He says, Somalia has shown what a totally incompetent idiot General Garrison is. And he is not fit to be a private shoveling shit in the 3rd Infantry Division. Now, I always wondered what he had against the 3rd Infantry Division. Now, on the other hand, there was someone else that said, General Garrison is the best general since George Washington. But since it was my mother that said it, I'm not sure that we are to pay that much attention to it. Now, I have not read the book nor seen the movie Black Hawk Down. But I have seen newspapers' accounts and also the nightly news and things of that nature. Now, it seems as a whole they use such terms as disaster, massacre, debacle, and many other negative things. Now, of course, I do not look at it that way, but naturally this is America and everybody is entitled to their opinion. Now, some small details that might interest you that you might not be aware of is that they were soldiers from the 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 10th Special Forces Group that were now in the Delta Force that were a part of this fight. In addition to that, we had Air Force Special Operations CCT and PJs. We also had one Marine Force Recon guy. We had Task Force 160th Aviation, the United States Army Rangers, and we also had the U.S. Navy SEALs. These were a bunch of magnificent people. I can assure you they were magnificent. One of the things that I would like to bring up is that I, like you, saw men in combat in places like the Ashau Valley, Khe Sanh, Hue City, Quang Tri City, and other places of that nature. And I assure you that you men that saw that combat in those places and many other places, you would have been very, very proud of these people that fought in Mogadishu. They definitely carried on your tradition, and they definitely maintained the heritage that you all set for them. I know that you are, and you should be very proud of them. I'll just cover a couple of details. I will just cover a couple of details because it's much too lengthy to go into. But first, when we got the warning order for Mogadishu, we do what most special operations normally do. We put the people into isolation. We started the rehearsals. We brought about the current intelligence data. We learned everything that we could about what we were going to have to do. Next, we found out that there were 24 Pakistanis that were going off to check a weapons site, and they were ambushed by the Somalis. One of the things that is not put out on the press is that all of these 24 soldiers from Pakistan were skinned. It's a fairly dastardly thing, and so therefore we made sure we knew that this was certainly not a picnic that we were going to go into. Shortly thereafter, even though we were not certain that we were going to go to Somalia, because there were many people that did not want us to go, and of course there could even be a great argument that we should not have gone, but nevertheless, on one morning in Mogadishu, there were 4 Americans driving down the road, and they were all killed by a command-detonated mine. This is the event that required our deployment to Mogadishu. So we deployed and we got there. We immediately started our rehearsals, although we had rehearsed many times back in the isolation area. We conducted rehearsals with the 10th Mountain Division forces in case we were ever going to have to conduct a link-up with them. And of course, we went through all of the contingencies that could possibly happen and rehearsed and rehearsed. Now, one thing that does not appear to me that's brought out very much is that we conducted several missions in Mogadishu. Of course, one of the things that is brought out is as a result of conducting these missions, we set a pattern. I have to tell you that we are guilty. We certainly did set a pattern. We attempted not to do so because we would go in by foot, we would come out by air, we'd go in by vehicle, we would come out by foot. We did everything that we could not to set a pattern, but it is a fact, and I often find myself a little bit wondering how all of these people make all of this money writing all these great books about strategy, because the bottom line is there's 4 ways to do something. Up the left, up the right, up the middle, or don't go. So while we did everything that we could to not set a pattern, I have to admit that we certainly did. And this was not like some certain special operations where you have speed, surprise, and violence of action. There is no question that the bad guys knew we were there, and there was no question that they knew that we were going to come after them. Anyway, in all of these different operations, the man did a great job. I would like to let you know that I do not say this tongue-in-cheek, that any mistake that occurred there accrues to me as the commander. The operators could not have done a better job under any circumstances. Anyway, I could go on all night about this. I am more than happy to talk to anybody that wants to talk to me, unless you're a newspaper person. The main message that I wanted to depart tonight is, in fact, that these were really just like yourselves. These are a magnificent bunch of people. Now, I can assure you that in the past and in the future, you're going to have a lot better speakers get up here and talk to you than myself. But I also can assure you, you're never going to have anybody stand up here before you that has more respect for you as individuals nor this association than I do. Thank you.
Well, we kind of thought that, it's customary to award the guest speaker something for coming and speaking to you, and we said, well, wonder how many plaques he has. Kind of chuckled a little bit, probably a wall or two full. So we said, well, let's give him a plaque then. And so we've commissioned a new plaque that has the old or the first Special Operations Association logo on it, and leaving us a place at the bottom to place loving words for those that we present them to. And this one says, presented to Major General William Wild Bill Garrison. But we wanted to make a real distinction. And I don't know Colonel Hackworth. I don't know if I'll ever know him. I don't know if I've ever read anything that he wrote. And after listening to the General, I probably won't. However, we coined this phrase that we thought was very apropos to him, and we called him warrior leader. And so we said, presented to our warrior leader, SOAR 26, September 28, 2002. But more than that, you hear, we all know people who have worked for the General, and we know what kind of man he is and that he is truly a warrior leader. And so, sir, we thank you for coming and speaking with us. We're not done yet, okay? We wanted the General to have a hat. Everybody should have a hat. It pays to advertise. We want him to have a Special Operations tie, and our tie now says on the back, Special Operations Association. And we also want him to be very well dressed, so we're going to give him a jacket also. And I was careful to take all the price tags off so he wouldn't know how much we thought he was worth. At any rate, this jacket is probably a little large, sir. I'll tell you what happened. I also run the memorabilia sales. And I was told to pull out a jacket in your size, and we asked you what size it was because we want to be sure we knew. And I failed to do that. And so we sold all the jackets in your size. So at any rate, we're going to present you this jacket. I'm going to order more jackets, but I wanted also to put your name on it. Is Wild Bill all right? Okay. Again, sir, thanks a million. We appreciate it. Thank you. We have a great deal of respect for you. I'll get that back from you. Well, now's time for me that is a pleasure, and I'll probably stumble through this also, but at least I don't have to try to read Clyde's words. I can do this on my own. We have established an award in our association, and we've wanted to do that for a long time, and I announced it at the general membership meeting. I showed everyone what it looked like, and it's called the Founders Award. And I understand that this organization was founded in the Rod and Gun Club at Fort Devens, Massachusetts. I guess Colonel Isler, Cliff Newman, and Jimmy Butler, and who? Eldon Bargewell. And we hope we'll see him again. And he unfortunately was going to be here, but he's had to go out. He was busy. He had to go places. And so I think Les Chapman was there also, was he not? And Les we don't see very often, although we used to. But I think Jimmy Butler was the man who put it all into effect and made it happen. So he's considered, naturally, the founder. And the founder spent the first 8 years or so having the reunions. And he slipped last year. I'm real tight on let's do everything right and be fair and honest, right? And so he used to tell me, he told me how they used to run the raffles, and between him and another guy, and I won't mention the other guy's name, but the other guy would reach in and pull out and say, well, by golly, Jimmy Butler won, and put the ticket back in real quick and stick the bucket back. So, but anyway, we can't all win. We all won when Jimmy put the unit or the organization together. I like to think that it is above or a cut above, or at least the people are a cut above a lot of other organizations that don't have the experience and didn't have the opportunity to work together with some of the best people that I feel ever served. So Jim, I'd like you to come up a minute, and because we want to show everybody you, for one thing. We also want to show them what the award looks like that we named after you. We didn't want a plaque, by the way, and I'm sorry, sir, but we didn't want a plaque, so we did like this, and Charles Berg helped me out on this. We did a lot of phone conversations over this, and he said, I got an idea. He said, there's an eagle that I saw the other day that really looks good. And we didn't want a plaque. We want something that you can put on your desk or something, you know. And so you can see on the front it says, James E. Butler Founders Award, awarded for extraordinary achievement in service to the Special Operations Association. And if you have it on your desk, you need to be reminded of our motto. You've never lived until you've almost died. For those who have fought for it, life has a special flavor the protected will never know. And I think that explains a little bit about what we're about. So we put on the top then, and we really scrambled for space to get something large enough to do it. And so on this one it says, awarded to James E. Butler, SOA number 001, founder of the Special Operations Association, inspiration and dedication. And we thought there's not going to be many of these given, so we decided to put which award it was. And this one says, first award, SOAR 26, September 28, 2002. I got mine turned off. I'm going to hold it for him because I don't want to drop it.
Thank you so much. This is an unbelievable honor. I had no idea this was happening. I would like to give you a little bit of history. In Christmas, December 24th, 1970, there were about 33 guys that were sitting in the Recon Club at CCN, and we were very close friends, but we weren't doing what we normally did in Recon Club. We were pretty quiet, pretty morose, because there was one of us missing. And his name was Dale Dinky, and his sister's Karen right over here. And Dale at the time went out on a 7-day mission, and this was the 11th day. Evidently, when he was trying to move out of the area, an NVA regiment moved in around him and decided to have Christmas. 3 days later, we did get him out alive, but unfortunately, he was killed a little later on in the war. We bonded an awful lot during that period of time. And of all things, approximately 29 of us, all together from CCN Recon, ended up in D Company of the 10th Special Forces Group, myself included. And we said, well, let's go up to the Rod and Gun Club and sort of reaffirm those vows and remember our friends and do it our own way. And we did. And we said, we're never going to allow this thing to end, our friendship and our love for each other. Easter offensive broke open in Vietnam. Cliff and I found ourselves back in Vietnam, and Eldon was on his way down to OCS, and everyone else was scattered all over the world. We couldn't link up with one another. I left the service in 1975, and I said, I'm going to live up to that vow. And what you see here today is the love that we have for each other and the brotherhood that we have for each other. And receiving an award like this is probably the greatest thing that'll ever happen to me in my life. Thanks so much. I got to mention something else. This wasn't done alone. Some other great people who had so much to do with what this organization is. One of them is member 004, and he's no longer with us, Jack Isler. And probably my closest friend that I'll ever have in my life, and that was Scotty Lyons, the Navy SEAL. And so many other great people. Chuck Darnell, who's not here, had an awful lot to do with how this thing worked, too. Anyways, thanks so much.